Hi guys. So I was thinking about reactions a little bit, and I was thinking about Christmas ornaments, and I'm not a big one into Christmas ornaments that can only be used during that time of year. I like ornaments that can be used all year. And so things like this, I feel like can be used all year. It could be hung. It could be hung on your tree, or it can be hung in your window, or gosh, if you want, it could be a necklace, right? Wouldn't that be cool to have an ornament that could also be used as a necklace? But things like this, I know a lot of you like ornaments that remind you of the season. And so trying to get the angle just right. There you go. This one, you know, Christmas tree. And these are done with French vanilla and silver foil. Reactions can be totally awesome. So if you look on your reaction chart, and for this is Bullseye's French vanilla 137. And what's cool about French vanilla is it's gorgeous for one, but it reacts with copper and silver. And this is a reaction with copper, and it's a much darker reaction. See how it's kind of black in there? And, oh, actually, I think it might have copper and silver in it. The bottom of it might be silver. And this was a test that I did to try and make a heart without cutting out a heart. So I just took, 3 triangles, a big one and 2 small ones, and sort of placed them together and put the copper, or the silver and copper foil on top of it. And this was putting silver foil on top of French vanilla and some on the back. But be aware, if you put your foil on the back and it touches your kiln shelf, it could sort of stain your kiln shelf. And the next project you do, it sort of picks up that stain onto your project. And I found that out when I did a piece of metal on my shelf, and then my next project was white, and the white picked it up and completely ruined the project. There's no way to get it out. It had fumed sort of into the glass. So keep that in mind. If you make that mistake, you can't fire the shelf by itself to burn it off. Otherwise, you can put a layer of 1/16 fiber paper, and that should be enough to absorb that fuming sort of metal, and it won't go onto your shelf. If you fire it on top of your glass, won't be a problem. It doesn't sort of leak into the shelf. As far as the foils go, I stick with Hotline. Hotline gives you the pure silver foil and the copper, and I think there's one other. Is there one other? I prefer the silver. That's my favorite. I have used the copper. This little pack comes with 25 leaves that are 3 3/8, so 3 inches by 3 inches, 25 leaves, and it cost me almost $40. So it's not cheap stuff, but you're not using a lot of it. One leaf can go a long way, and you keep all your little scraps. But let me tell you, beware. This one right here you get at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, whatever. And it says on it, copper leaf. And on the back it even says they have a product that's 100% copper, 100% genuine copper. They're not talking about this one, because you almost have to open the package to read it, because it's hidden under this sort of bubble corner. Can't see it until you get it home. That it says that it's micro thin sheets of metal composition. It's a composition metal. It's not copper. It burns off. So use this in your decoupage for copper leafing, but don't use it in your fused glass unless you find the one that's 100% genuine copper. I don't like it too thick, because then I have to cap it, and then I might get bubbles and things. So I really like that leaf, or the foil or leaf. That works really well. This one, they call it foil. So I like the foil. It doesn't say how thin it is. It says foil, but you see that paper thin stuff, right? Okay, so what I did for these, quite simple. For this one, I cut out 2 of these the same shape. And I was just kind of general. They're not even exact. I did a tiny bit of grinding. I know it helps in the end. I don't know if you can see, that's not perfect, right? And then I took something I've told you guys about before. If you've been with me for a while, you know about this. This is plumber's chain, and this is brass. And you can use brass in fused glass. Here's what it looks like if you want to see it. And what plumber's chain used to be used for was when you wanted to flush your toilet, you would push that handle. Well, inside the tank was this chain, and they would hook it to the inside of the handle and the stopper on your toilet. And when it lifted up, the water would flush down, right, and flush your toilet. When you take it off of there, you end up with a loop. See, like that. That's half open. So I would continue opening that up. Cut it in the middle, make sure it's really flat, and then I end up with this. And you can cut that tab off. I like that little tab. It gives me a little extra grab, and then I really flatten that out because I don't want it to mess with my glass. So I'm not going to be able to hold this up too well, but I sandwich this between the layers. Let's see if I can show you like this. So I would put this like this. There you go. And then I would put this on top of it in the kiln. So I set this in the kiln with this brass thing on, and then I put this on top of it. And this is what I put my decoration on. So this is sitting in the kiln waiting for this one. And then I sit here and decorate this one with the foil, and then go in and gently set it down because you don't want that brass thing to move. Well, it's just an easy way to get a hanger on it, right? You can also use the high fire wire, of course, right? And you don't want to use the wires that aren't high fire because they get brittle and they'll eventually break. And you don't want them breaking on a Christmas tree or breaking on someone's neck. So the brass holds up and the high fire wire holds up. But that was just a simple way to get that done. So last night I was sort of playing with these and thought, I'll just throw that in. I don't want to look for my high fire wire. The other one is this one. Did the same thing, but see that tree moved a little bit and it exposed some of that brass loop. See how, I don't know, yep, you could see that with my polka dots in the background. So the brass exposed right there. And it doesn't bother me so much. I'm okay with it. But, you know, if it bothers you, I guess you would have to try again. Because there's not much to do to fix it. But the way to get that fuming, and the silver on the French vanilla is my favorite because you get that beautiful blue and that fuming around it. Let's see that brown fuming? I think that is just fabulous. And of course it doesn't come out as well in video as it does in person. I just think it's gorgeous. But you remember that one's in the kiln with a little brass piece on it, and so is my tree. And by the way, my tree, I just drew a triangle with a tree stump, and instead of cutting out the tree stump, which would, you know, like the stand, which would normally be more angled, I just went to my grinder and ground it to whatever my grinder wanted to do. See, so it's got more of a slope. And ultimately, I get that sort of tree stump without having to use a special saw. That's all. So the tree would also be in the kiln, which is what I did last night. Put the tree in the kiln with a little brass hanger, and then I work on the top piece. And if you haven't worked with this stuff before, oh my gosh, be careful. Save every little bit. And if you're worried about it, you can actually do it between two layers of paper. So you can take this paper and sandwich your foil and then do your cutting, and boy, does that work out much better. So I don't know if you can see that. My foil's in there, and I just want to cut a really straight line. Hard to do like this, right? All right, I'm going to set this aside so I don't blow it. But as you do things with it, you're going to end up with little scraps. Save all your little scraps. They're all very valuable. Like I said, that stuff's really expensive. So I just cut a little line. I use hairspray in a little squeeze bottle. And so then I just put a little line of hairspray on there. To me, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't know. If you want to use glue, use glue. And then I take this little strip and lay it across. Now it's not going to move because that hairspray is all wet and it's holding it for me. And then if you have tinier scissors, even better, but those work just fine. Trim your pieces off. Remember, keep all your little pieces. Oh, you can let it hang over, but why? You can trim it off and save it. So that is the general idea, and it's only sticking on there because I use hairspray. Now for the little bits, those little ornaments sort of thing, all I did was take my scraps and balled them up in little balls like this. I balled it up in a little ball and dropped it on there. Use my little tweezers to move it around. Take your little bits and set them on there, and you kind of have ornaments. For this one, I'll tell you, I went to cut a shape, you know, that sort of, oh, almost lost my scissors, that almond sort of shape, and when I put it on the hairspray and went to move it, it tore. It tore right down here. So what do you think I did? I tore the rest of it to make it look like I meant to do it, because I wasn't going to waste the silver foil. It's too expensive. And it's not so bad. I kind of like it. I like that sort of broken up instead of perfect look. So then you fire them. The one I use is 500 degrees an hour because it's so small. 500 degrees an hour to 1460. I held for 10 minutes and off. That simple. You can also use hole punches if you use the paper on both sides of the foil. I have funky ones that are sort of at an angle. I have, of course, the old round ones. 2 tips on this. Make sure it's sharp. Mine's dull as dull. So, of course, it wasn't working very well. But also take all your paper out of there first. Or even better yet, take this off. Put it between 2 pieces of paper and punch it and hope that it comes out. See, mine's so dull that it was tearing and the foil was getting all wadded up. Come out of there. Oh, the foil's stuck in there, which is a good reason to take off that bottom piece. All right. If I'm very careful, I kind of have a circle. I could almost do, I'm trying to find the middle of the camera. There you go. Right on my forehead. This tissue paper, it might work well with the scissors, but I'm not having a lot of luck with my punch. If you cut through wax paper, it helps punch. It's stronger and won't bind as much. Really good tips. Okay, another really easy one to do is this. I wasn't too thrilled with the colors that it came out. I've done prettier ones, but let's see. I'm trying to get the right angle so you can get the effect. Oh, that kind of gives it to you. So this one, all this is super simple. I took a piece of Dichro, I cut it into that long almond shape. This one happens to be square. You can see, oh, there you go. Now you can see it. And this is off the same sheet, just another end of it. This might have been a little, this would have turned out more of a purple. But this turned out yellow. It didn't show up as well. I take a piece of clear glass that is a little bit smaller, and these don't have to be perfect. If you want perfection, go for it. But then I take another piece of Dichro and I put it in the center and fired it. I didn't do 2 layers, so it shrunk up. I think it started out the same size as this, maybe? About the same size. And you can see it shrunk up because it's only 2 layers where that clear is and 3 layers where that centerpiece is. But it gives it a real depth. And I've done this with an orange Dichro and a blue Dichro that were just amazing. This gold isn't showing up. I wished I'd made a better sample, but you'll get the idea. It's so easy. You can add the hanger if you want. You can drill a hole. You can add a bail. It could be a necklace. It could be an ornament. You know, my favorite kind of things. But don't forget, I know you started in stained glass. Admit it. You know you did, and you've got all that stained glass stuff. And so do I. Here's my old copper foil. You can use it in between your layers. I haven't had much luck with it on top of the glass because it's got the sticky stuff and everything. I put it between the layers. But you can use this. So you can take your tree, so you adhere it on there, and then put your clear glass on top of it. Can have a very cool effect. But you can also use it on your pieces on the outside. So this one, let's see, there we go. You can kind of get the look. But you can see I didn't do a fantastic job. but that's the pot that my tree is in. And that's what it looks like. It looks like wood. Or I could spend more time at it. And all I did was wrap it around, cut it off on the back, really simple. But a way to use your copper foil. Don't forget your sheets. You can buy that at stores that do stained glass. Comes in big, wide. This is 1 inch by 12 yards. It cost me almost nothing. It's copper, and copper's expensive. Keep that in mind. Use your foils. I dropped my roll of copper over here, and it just rolled all the way around the table. So, yeah, it finally landed. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Be cool, honey bunnies.